While Peter Hotez demands censorship and international action against foreign countries, he has contradicted himself at virtually every turn throughout the COVID era. In the first year, when Trump was still president, Hotez warned about the dangers of rushing vaccines under emergency use authorization.
I don't think EUAs have a place for vaccines. We've never done an emergency use authorization for a major vaccine released to the public. What does that mean? We know it's a lesser quality review. What's the FDA going to do to ensure public safety?
While Hotez may have had political motivations to cast doubt on the coronavirus products, he had good reason to be concerned. In March 2020, Hotez gave congressional testimony to warn about the dangers of coronavirus vaccines.
One of the things that we're not hearing a lot about is the unique potential safety problem of coronavirus vaccine. With certain types of respiratory virus vaccines, you get immunized, and then when you get actually exposed to the virus, you get this kind of paradoxical immune enhancement phenomenon. We started developing coronavirus vaccines, and our colleagues, we noticed in laboratory animals that they started to show some of the same immune pathology that resembled what had happened 50 years earlier. So we said, oh my God, this is going to be problematic.
While Hotez warned against fast-tracking a vaccine, he was appointed by Anthony Fauci to lead an NIH program with pharmaceutical executives, the Gates Foundation, and others that did exactly that. In May 2020, anticipating public concern about what he had admitted was rushed testing, potentially unsafe products, and a new platform, Hotez wrote that the communications and missteps around the rollout of COVID-19 vaccines may require a period of damage control, and called for the White House and NIH to shape a well-crafted vaccine communication plan and designate a trusted spokesperson who can articulate and carry the message, an apparent reference to himself. Once the FDA had given emergency use authorization, Hotez reversed his public stance.
So what's your reaction to this approval then of this second vaccine?
It's fantastic. The emergency use authorization closely approximates the full approval process, so there's nothing really rushed. Any vaccine released by emergency use authorization by the FDA is an outstanding vaccine.
Take whatever vaccine is really offered to you.
Hotez said that once enough people were injected with 2 doses, viral transmission would stop and other measures would no longer be necessary.
News is good. It's saying even after 6 months, it still looks like it's really strong and durable. So this is going to be a long-lasting vaccine. A single dose is not very effective, but 2 doses fully vaccinated people are.
A week or 2 after the second dose, the masks can start to come off.
And guess what? You can have everything you've asked for in terms of not requiring social distancing and masks. We can have an extraordinary quality of life.
This is time limited. It's not in perpetuity, Wolf.
This is not in perpetuity. We are going to vaccinate our way out of this epidemic starting in the summer. If enough Americans get vaccinated, we could actually halt virus transmission, potentially.
If you do the simple math, I did a back of the envelope calculation.
Once you get over 65% of the population with a single dose of the vaccine and 50% with 2 doses, the amount of transmission will really start to decline.
60 to 70%, 60 to 80% threshold.
We need to get to about 75% before we interrupt transmission. Around 3/4 of the U.S. population.
Roughly 80% of the U.S. population.
2 doses turned to 3.
I think ultimately a third immunization with the mRNA vaccines will probably be needed at some point.
We thought there was a pretty high likelihood we might have to give a third immunization down the line anyway at some point, because we had no idea about the durability of any protection of any of these vaccines.
So if you got a 2-dose Pfizer Moderna vaccine, think of it as a 3-dose vaccine. We ultimately will need to give a third immunization, and I've been pretty much saying that all along. This was always a 3-dose vaccine, and so this was all predicted and predictable. I've always said this is a 3-dose vaccine. 2 mRNA vaccines were always a 3-dose vaccine. We've known for a while that this was going to be a 3-dose vaccine. The big unknown is what happens to those of us who got 3 doses. I don't have the answer. You need that third immunization to get a 30 to 40-fold rise. After you get that third immunization, you do get a big boost in virus-neutralizing antibodies.
By November 2021, the U.S. population had met what Hotez and the government called fully vaccinated.
Today, we hit 2 important milestones. 80% of adults now have at least their first shot, and 70% of adults are now fully vaccinated.
But the goalposts were shifted, and the booster campaign was just getting started.
And we're going to have to change the definition of fully vaccinated. What counts as full immunization will be 3 doses just because we gave those first 2 doses so close together. The idea that 2 immunizations constitutes full immunizations is not even close. You need that booster, and you probably need the second booster. If you've gotten a single boost and you're eligible, get your second boost.
The solution here is just continue mass vaccination as aggressively as possible?
That's right.
Are you expecting, as a result, for these vaccines to essentially become a twice-yearly thing?
Of course, with mRNA, that may be what's required. You need 2 boosters. You're going to need a third booster. 2 boosts really makes the difference. Get your second boost.
There are these new boosters. They've been available for a little over a week. Who should get them?
Well, anyone who's eligible. Once you're more than out 4 or 5 months from your last booster.
No matter where you're at, maximize out your vaccinations. And even if you've gotten a single booster, you need 2 boosters.
Now's the time to get a booster if you haven't been boosted in a while.
2 to 4 months out, you're going to need a third booster as well, a 5th immunization. Third boosters, meaning 5th immunizations, new bivalent booster. You want to get Paxlovid. That gives you an extra layer of protection as well. You need to get that booster. People need to get their bivalent booster. And
the important message that I have this morning is get your new bivalent booster. If you've not gotten it, you have to get it.
They're talking about the third shot. And is that the bivalent, or is it the 4th booster, or does it matter? Like, can you help me understand?
So before Elise was asking me that very question, I said, don't worry so much about the number of boosters. Worry about when you got your last booster.
Okay.
Attempting to boost ourselves out of this pandemic is, in my opinion, the immunological equivalent of heroin addiction. Okay, and what I mean by that is that we're trying to get we're trying to squeeze more and more benefit, but which we're not getting. We're getting less and less benefit for more and more risk of side effects. The more doses, the worse it gets. So this is counterproductive. It's not just that it's not working; it's counterproductive.
When Johnson & Johnson's product was pulled after causing blood clots,
the J&J vaccine does cause a rare serious event, cerebral thrombotic event.
Hotez continued to push them.
Well, I don't have concern about the vaccine. It's a good vaccine. It's an excellent vaccine.
After years of blaming the unvaccinated for the virus, demanding censorship, and seeking to criminalize criticism, Hotez casually admitted that the injections, in fact, don't stop transmission.
We are not stopping infection anyway, but no, the booster's actually keeping people out of the hospital.